Right, so welcoming us to another session, today's session of Power BI Power Query. So yesterday, the major thing we were able to learn was how to merge queries. But today, hopefully, we'll be able to move on. In merging queries, maybe I should just do a quick repeat. I think I brought in customer information. Yeah, I brought in customer information from, so I'm just going to delete that step and quickly repeat it just for repetition's sake, just to help our knowledge. Please mute if you are not talking as you come in. Thank you. So let's say that we brought in some tables yesterday from the Northwind data set. And on the orders table, I've got order ID, customer ID, employee ID, and all I've got about these customers is just their IDs. And even about the employees that served the orders, it's just about their IDs. And IDs don't tell you much, tell you close to nothing, actually. There is no way for me to make sense of what WILMK means. So, but I know that if I go into the customers table, all of the customers' details are there. So I'm thinking now of bringing the details I need from this table into the others table for whatever reason. The only way I can do that easily is if there is something unique that is similar between the two tables. Something like a way for the two tables to communicate with each other. And this is where we look at the uniqueness of the IDs, because on the orders table, we've got customer ID. And on the customers table, we've got customer ID as well. So it becomes possible to actually merge the two tables. And we say in merging queries, there's two ways or two results that you could get. The first one is merge queries, where you are bringing a new table into another. You are not forming a new query. But merge query as new would form a third query now. So you have to think of what result you are really trying to achieve to make the right decision. To make the right decision about which option to go for. So I'm going to, because I'm bringing information from customers table into the others table, and I want everything from the others to be retained, while only the matching from the second table, which is customers table, to come in. So this is what I'm going to click on first to make the work easy for myself. So I'm clicking on the others table, and I'm clicking on the merge queries. And the first option is what I'm going for. Now it brings this merge dialog box. And the first table that I've picked, we can see it's the table we have here. Then the next part is this bar here, where I can check the drop down to see. It would give me a list of the tables, a list of the queries I've got here. And I am free to choose the one that I'm trying to merge, which is the customers table. And then the next thing is I want to pick the two common columns, the customer ID that's unique and common between them. It doesn't have to be two that you pick. If there are more columns that they have in common, you can actually pick them from both tables. But in this case, this will do, and we can see there's a green tick here telling us that all of the matches were found. What this means is that all of the 830 unique customer ID here are matched with what we have here. So it's not like I've got 1,000 customer ID here that are unique, but only 500 are found within this table. That's not the case. If that was the case, it would be stated here that this is the much or the many amount of what it can actually find, sorry. And then the join kind talks about the types of join. Now, the first one is saying left outer. Left outer means the left is the first table, okay? So that is going to bring everything within this table and only bring the matching ones from the second table. And further explanation is there for each and every one of the other ones. Now, if we need more understanding of this, it would be good to research what each and every one of these kind of join means. But generally, pick the first table, your initial table, pick it, and then make the other table that you are bringing information from, make it the second one and just pick this as your first option. That's what I do all the time, so that I don't have to, crack my brain around all these other ones. So we can okay that. And immediately we okay that, we can see that all of the table, we can see how it says table, table, table. Customers table has been brought in. And we can see this, this opposite facing arrows here that we can use to expand the table. So I'll click on expand and it brings all of the columns for us. Now I can pick the information I need, the data I need from here, because I don't need all of it. That is not to say that if I need all, I shouldn't bring all. But in my case, I just need the details, which are the first name, the last name, and probably the contact title. Just something to tell me what each of those IDs, who's got which ID. That's all I need. And I'm going to uncheck this because I don't want a bogus header at all. I don't want my headers to be bogus. That is, I don't want the header to read something like customers dot first name, customer dot last name. That's not what I want. I just want first name, last name, and contact title. That's why I'm unchecking that. And I'll click OK. And when I click OK, we can see that it's added that second step, that expanded customers, that we've expanded customers. And these are the data parts, the columns that we decided to bring in with the naming exactly the way that, we want that. Had it been that we decided to merge query as new, can you see that when I pick the first option, which is just merge query, everything just came into this orders table. There's no extra queries that was formed, okay? But I'm just gonna undo that again and, show us what choosing this would have looked like. So if we say, okay, let's merge query as new, and we choose customers again, customer ID, we do all of that, just like what we did before. I'll okay that. So I'll scroll to the right, and then can you see a third query was formed? Another query, don't let me say third because that sounds confusing. A new query was formed, which with the name merge one. So we've got an extra query now called merge one. Okay, so and if I expand like we did before, pick the ones that I want. So all I want is those three, uncheck that and okay. So the difference between those two is a new query was formed. If that is what you are trying to achieve, then go ahead and do that. But if you don't want that extra load in your work, then the first option is what you need to go for. We can rename, okay, actually it's all right. I'll leave that as merge so that we know that we formed that from merging two tables together. So we've got the orders which we started with, we've got the customers intact, and then we've got a third one, that was formed. Also, when I was looking at this, I found that we can actually do group by. You know how the examples, the queries we had before were not good enough for the group by example or the group by exercise. But we can actually, do a bit of grouping by with this particular order details. Let's say that within this data set, I want to group quantities. The quantities that were bought, I want to group them by the product ID. Yeah, so product ID 11, I want to see how many, or order ID. Actually, I'll go for the order ID first. I want to see how many quantities of products fall within every order that's 10248. And we've got quite a few of 10248. Okay, so if I click on that and we go into group by, okay, it says specify the column to group by and the desired output. What column do we want to group by? We want to group by order ID. Now I can rename that so that it's not count. Count doesn't make much sense. New column name, we can say total quantity. Total quantity. Okay, and operations. I want to sum. So if I put sum there, but I want to sum the quantities. So I'll go for quantity so that the sum of each of the quantities is categorized and grouped under order ID. Let's see what that would look like. And we see all of that, how many, we had four or five columns, became two. Everything became two, okay? So that we can see that within the order 10248, we've got 27 total number of products that were bought. Within order 10249, we've got 49 quantities of products, that were sold or that were bought. Okay, so that's how the group by works. Or let's say that I don't want to group by order ID. Okay, let's say that I want to group by product ID. Okay, I want to see how many of the total, how many of each product was actually bought, what quantity of each product was actually bought. So it's the same thing. I'll go on to group by. I want to group by the product ID. So again, total quantity. And again, I'm summing. Sum is not the only thing you can go for here. All of the functions here are very valid. If you were looking for average quantity, yes. Or if I wanted the maximum quantity under each product, yes, it would do exactly what each one of these wants. But in this case, I want the sum, and I want the quantity, okay? And if I okay that, we get that, okay? So we get product ID and the total number of products for each product, that was bought. Let's say I really want to know actually what product is product 11, what product is product 42, because I actually want to be able to say that it was a so named product that we had 706 of it sold within the period of time that this data set covers. So all I have to do is look for where can I get that information that will give me product name, and it's got product ID. on it as well. It obviously must be the product table. The product table has got the details. We can see the product ID here. We can see the product name. Okay, all I need is the name. So I want to bring this name into this table. What should I do? Again, we go into merge. I don't want to merge as new. Okay, I just want to merge. And I'm using product. So it is product ID that I'm going to, use to communicate between the two. Please mute. So again, I'm going for the left outer join. I always do that anyway. I want everything from this table and only whatever I want to choose from this table. And I see that I've got a complete match. 77 out of 77 rows have been found, which is good for me. So I'm going to OK that. Now I will expand. And all I need, I'm going to unselect all, and all I need is just the product name. I don't need to bring the product ID in because product ID already is here. Okay, if I need any more information from here, yes, I can tick them. I don't want to tick this either. I just want the name product name on my column header. And there we have it. I can OK that. And now I can see that products is it Queso Cabralis, however that is pronounced. We've got a total quantity of 706 of it sold, and so on and so forth. If I want to sort, maybe I want to sort by from the highest that was sold. We've got this highest as the highest quantity, this product here, okay, as the highest quantity sold of all of our products, So those are the various things that we can quickly, perform. Then I would go on to append queries. Now, so far, we have seen how merge queries add column on. It adds extra columns, onto our queries. But append queries will not add extra columns or should not add extra columns. Append queries should be adding extra rows. We can see that so far, we've added, with merge queries, we've added extra columns. We haven't increased the number of rows. It's still 77 rows, that were there before, that were there in this table before that we have. But we had 2 columns and now we have 3 because we bring an extra column in. For append query, we are going to be adding extra rows. It's like we are adding layers upon layers, of table onto each other. I'm going to need to bring in another set of data sets that I feel will suit this example. I hope I'm able to pick that quick. If I go into maybe desktop, maybe that can help me. Under append tasks, no. Don't remember where I saw it. I should have written it down. I saw it just before class, but do I have any append task here? No. Okay, you know what? With what we have already, let me see if we can make something up here. So if okay, actually, let's use CDs and CD2. Or let's use what we already know. We already know how many rows are in orders, this one that we just worked up. in or on. Okay, other details. We can see that we have 77 rows and we have 3 columns. Okay, I'm going to duplicate this. Okay, let's say for some reason this is duplicate. I'm going to duplicate this and I'll call this another name. Maybe just other detail. Just remove the S. Okay, because it won't let us give 2 queries the same name. Okay, now it's easy for me to append these 2 because their structures are the same. What I mean by that is, so on other details, we have just 1, 2, 3 columns. On other detail, we have just 3 as well. That is one factor, the first factor that we have to consider before we can think about appending queries. Ensuring that they have the same number of columns is very important so that they will match, because you are putting, it's like you're putting a table on top of the other. You want them to be symmetrical. You want them to actually align. So this is where alignment comes into play. Number 2 is that you want each of the columns to be in the same position. So product ID on here must be, which is number 1, product ID column is number 1 on here. On the other table that you are appending, it has to be number 1 as well, so that when you are placing the tables on top of the other, product ID is being placed where product ID is. Total quantity is being placed where total quantity is. And product name is being placed where product name is. Had it been I found my example, which would have really helped. It's so I've got 3 tables and I'm still going to look for it. So I've got 3 tables: Leeds, Manchester, and maybe London. Okay. It's all the same information for different locations. Okay. So it's like some record that was taken in Leeds, some were taken, others were, the other table was taken for London, and the third one was taken for Manchester, you know, but they were made as very similar. It's only the records inside them that was different. So where column 1 was where column 1 is on Leeds, that is where the column 1 is also on Manchester table. So that when I'm appending all 3 together, there is alignment. I hope that makes sense. So let's do the appending now. Whichever one I'm picking first, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to append, and the same law applies to append queries, just like merge queries. You can either append queries or append query as new. If you append as new, you get a new query that's formed. But if you just do append, you're just adding the 2 tables together. So you choose your choice. So on clicking append queries, we can see there's a dialog box. It says concatenate rows. Concatenate means join or add or combine, you know, rows from 2 tables into a single table. So we are bringing 2 tables together or more, not just 2 tables, because we can see here that we can actually join 3 tables as well together, or even more than that. But all at once, you can do the maximum of 3, as we can see here. So, but at the moment, we are doing 2 tables. So I'll choose the second table here, and it's this last one, other detail. And if I okay that, let's remember that each table has 77 rows. Let's see how many rows this will give us. And now I've added other details into other details. Okay, so the second table has been brought into the first table. And now we can see the information just right down here. If you follow my cursor, we have 3 columns, 154 rows, which is 77 add 77, and you know, all of the rest of that information there. So thank you very much. We've repeated merge queries as new. and we have done, we have touched on how to append queries, and we have looked at group by within the 20 something minutes, that we have been on this part of Power Query. Under home, I believe we've done maybe not all, but most of what we will need, we have touched on under home. Hopefully within this week, we should be able to finish, because home is the most cumbersome of all of them, the one that has the most functions. But transform and add are very similar in their functions. So we're going to be looking at both, concurrently. And there's not much to talk on view tools and help. So I believe today is Thursday. So I believe maybe by early next week, we should be able to, if we don't finish things tomorrow, we might want to rush it tomorrow. But if not, then early next week, we should finish on Power Query and move on to something else. Do we have any questions? Let me